So, hi again. I hope that this last week was real good to you. This is Cindy, coming to you from Denver, Colorado. Let me straighten up my screen here a little bit so you don't see too much of my junk behind me. Okay, so we're going to talk about being fat. Being fat. Some of the changes, challenges, metamorphoses that we go through as those of us who are on this path of bariatric surgery endure. I've told you before, I don't like the word journey because we're not on a journey. A journey is a vacation. It's a day trip out to the lake. This is a battle, and we're at war. For those who are not fat but watch this because you've been invited by one of the members of my group, or the group that I belong to, not my group, or you're a relative of mine or a friend of mine that I've personally invited, I hope this gives you a little bit of an insight about some of the things that I personally endure and some of the things that other people like me have to face on a daily. So, let me first tell you a little bit about the group of people that I hang out with now on Facebook. It is a group exclusively for women who are on the bariatric surgery battlefield. So these women are supportive in every single way. I've never seen one person be snarky or mean or negative in any way. Last week I sent this video link out to a few of them and posted it in general on the page, and I asked a question, and that was talk to me about some of the negative things that you endure as a woman, quote, of size, if you are pre-op, or if you're post-op, of those things that you remember. So I've written down some of those things, and I'm going to kind of read some of those to you. I hope you'll forgive me. I don't typically read stuff to people. So I kind of wanted to give credit to some of these folks, so as I go through some of these comments, I will definitely mention their first names, not their last names. I know your business. Okay, so some of the things that we face and things that we've experienced individually. Missy was telling me about going out, say for an evening of drinks or dinner or in public or dancing or whatever it is, and you're out with all your skinny friends. Every guy in the place totally ignores you because you're kind of like invisible. The only time they talk to you is to say excuse me when they want to move by to get closer to one of your skinny friends. It's horrible. It's horrible. Sue Ellen talked about the doctor, going to the doctor and the doctor blaming everything on your weight. You go to the doctor, I've got pink eye. Oh, that's because you're fat. You're overweight. Go on a diet. Crazy. Jackie and Samantha both commented about going out in public and people not really caring whether or not they see you or you see them staring at you or pointing at you and making snide remarks about you to one another. If you're one of those people, stop it. If you see somebody doing it, stop them. This is one of my favorites. Carol mentioned, and I've had a personal experience with this. You go to the amusement park with your kids or your grandkids or your friends or whatever, and you go to get on a ride, and the attendant points out the weight restriction sign and tells you can't get on. As I started getting bigger, because I haven't always been this big, in fact, I was really quite thin at one point in my life, but I've never been one to ride like fast rides or roller coasters or up and downs or twisty twirlies or whatever, but I love the swings. There's a Illich's chain park here in Denver and they have one of those great big swings. I like it. It goes sort of slow, and it's not terribly high and doesn't go real fast, but I started not being able to fit into the seats, and I couldn't fit into a seat now if I had to. And it's miserable. It's sad because you go and all you can do is stand around while your friends are going on all the wonderful rides. And Carla, she's experienced going to a buffet, and it seems that, like, it doesn't seem, it happens. People point at you and like look at you with this terrorized look on their face, like you're going to eat everything in the buffet and there isn't going to be anything left for them. People are nasty. Okay, so Noonie had talked about not fitting in a booth at a restaurant, and it's funny that she brought that up because that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. When you go to a restaurant and the hostess goes to seat you in a booth, I always say to them, fat chicks don't do booths. And the reason I do that is because not everybody is vocal enough to speak for themselves and may not say that and speak for themselves, and they'll just be uncomfortable or even further embarrassed because they won't speak up. And I want to make hostesses and hosts and other public servants, I guess, or other people in that genre, think about what they're doing. It embarrasses other people when you refer to yourself as fat. So I'm okay with embarrassing them because they don't think about how they're embarrassing me. They have no regard whatsoever. They go through the motions of their jobs without thinking at all about actually the customer. They seat you in those particular seats because it's good for the wait staff. And that's, to me, irrelevant. I don't care how comfortable they are. I need to be comfortable because I'm the one paying the bill. Carolyn mentioned going out to a bar stool, or going out to a bar, sitting on a bar stool and praying that the bar stool holds your weight. Can you imagine how that feels inside? Brenda apparently experienced a really disgusting experience at the hands of a doctor who decided he needed to test to make sure she could fit into the machine, I assume a CAT scan or an MRI, before he would actually schedule the appointment for the procedure to be done for her. Wow, even professionals like doctors. Disgusting. Okay, so there were several people who commented on seating in public. Noonie, Kathy, Sue Ellen, Jackie, Samantha, and myself. Of course, we talked about sitting in the booths at a restaurant, sitting in a seat at a sporting event when those seats have arms and they're not just benches, and the amusement parks and public restrooms. We, as large people, almost exclusively have to use the handicap stalls because the regular stalls are so doggone narrow. Seat belts. Yeah. One of the ladies on here, and I can't remember which one it was, because I got so caught up in her story, talked about seat belts. Seat belts are like boa constrictors. They don't fit across your belly. You put them across your belly, but then they slide up so that they're kind of on that shelf underneath your boobs. And having to pick a vehicle based on whether or not you can get in and out of it. The lady that I was referring to said that she made her husband promise her that he would get her a new car if she lost 100 pounds. And I told her, of course, I'm up for adoption, but she's really excited that gives her a little bit of extra motivation, and it kind of helps her to understand, or helps her husband to understand how important this is to her and to be supportive of her journey, and he easily promised her that car. So stay tuned. We'll hopefully get a picture of that car. Seating at friends. Now, I don't go out much anymore because I've got other issues and I'd rather not deal with the public in general anyway. But when you go like to a friend's house or something, you have to pick your seat carefully. You can't sit in one of those deep couches that's all soft and cushy because you'll never get out of it. And you don't want to spend the whole night sitting on a kitchen chair because you'll have hemorrhoids by the time you get up because, God, they're hard. So you have to be careful when you go to a friend's house, and you have to also not only look for comfort and ease to exit, but you have to make sure that it's going to be sturdy enough to hold you. Imagine sitting down at your friend's house and the chair breaks. Ugh, mortifying. Clothing is another big deal, and there's several of us that have talked about this when I posted my inquiry on the Facebook page I told you about. Carol, Kathy, Diane, and me, I contributed to this group too. There's really no such thing as a plus size model. I know they talk about that a lot on TV these days, but truthfully, no. They're just normal sized, which compared to some of the models that we've been used to over the last few decades, they're huge. But no, they're not big. They're normal. We're big. They don't know big. And those clothes that they try on and they model for you, those don't fit good on large women. They just don't. Kathy said, tiny boobs, big tummy, clothes never fit right. And Carol mentioned, you can't shop just anywhere. You can never shop online. And you're pretty much stuck with, like the plus women sizes at Ross, or God forbid Lane Bryant. You can't shop online. You can't just go to Target or Walmart and pick something up. You have to be pretty selective about where you shop for clothes. Diane said, trying to dress nicely, but you still look like a frump. That's partly because of the manufacturers. They don't put as much of an emphasis on choosing pretty material, nice textures, and good textiles when they create plus size clothes. And when they do, your clothes cost more, even when they don't. Clothes cost more because they're bigger, and I guess they've decided that it's justified to ask for more money because your clothes are bigger, which in a way I can see it, but come on, it's not that big of a cost difference for you, but it is for many of us. And I don't think this is unique to large women or men. Sizes are never uniform. Sometimes you can fit into a 3X, sometimes it's going to be a 5X. There's literally that much difference, and I know that's true for everybody. My daughters, they're adults, and their sizes fluctuate depending on the brand of clothing they pick. And this one really bothers me, and I'm not going to mention the name of the person who put this on my inquiry on that Facebook page. People seem to think that it's okay for them to publicly address your size. Like, it's okay for them to tell you that you don't look good, or you're too big, or move out of the way, or whatever. They apparently think it's okay for them to just say that to you right out loud, and it's really not. You know, if we're close friends, and, you know, we're okay with that, but we can joke, you know. When I was getting along with my sister-in-law, I would call her skinny, she would call me fatty, and that was okay because we knew it wasn't hateful. But unless you have that kind of relationship, don't say that to somebody. If you hear somebody saying that to somebody, tell them to shut up, because that large person may not be able to tell them to shut up, but hey, large people, tell them to shut up. You have every right. And the last category of things I want to talk about is things that are private to us. Things you don't see in public that we suffer through and beat ourselves up over. Putting on your shoes and socks. A major accomplishment. Most of us wear slip-on shoes, flip-flops, or no shoes at all. I don't like shoes in the first place. I wear flip-flops every chance I get if I have to wear shoes. Picking things up off the floor. That's a production. You can't bend over. You can't squat down. It's an effort. Yeast infections in the folds. Now, if you're a large person, you know what I mean. If you're not a large person, you know we have folds, and we have this thing. I can't even think of the medical term for it, but it's like an apron. It's where your stomach kind of hangs down over your pelvic area, and there's really a fold where your skin of your stomach touches the top of your thighs, and you sweat through there, because there's no air circulation, obviously, and you get yeast infections. Now, those of us who are post-op have learned this more than anybody, because once you start losing weight and your skin starts hanging, if that happens for you, we get a lot of yeast infections and rashes and so forth. So that kind of brings me to another thing that I wanted to mention, and that's something that none of us really want to talk about, but it's odors. Look, we sweat more than thinner people do, and it's harder for us to do everything. And those yeast infections and so forth, there are a lot of odors that come along with being a larger person. Try to find a way, if you're thin or otherwise, to tell someone that you love that that's an issue for them right that moment. I don't know the words. You'll have to figure that out. And it's not that we don't want to be clean or that we're not clean, but it comes along with the territory of being large. A lot of larger women and men have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome with flatulence, and we're sorry. This happens. There's nothing we can do to control it. Trying not to causes extreme pain. So be gentle when somebody around you is like that. And one of the other things that women experience particularly is urine leakage. There's a lot of extra pressure on your bladder, also on your bowels. All your internal organs have a lot more pressure on them from the weight, and especially if you're a mom. If you're a mom, you know the whole thing about urine leakage. So let's see, what else? Fitting in the bathtub, also another one of my issues. I have said for a long time now that when I get thin, I want to be able to take a bath and have all the water drain out of the tub, not just the water in front of me, because my fat butt is like creating a dam for the rest of it. So I really want to just like take a bath and let the water drain out, all of it. Rolling out of bed, or I have a chaise lounge, and it kind of, getting up out of the bed or the, certain furniture, you'll look like a walrus. You have no control. You have to like swing your legs up and down and kick to try to get up out of bed, and that's not something that you would know unless you're large and you experience this. Let's see, nail shops. I go get my nails done every 2 weeks. I hate going to the nail shop. I love the me time. I love hanging out. I've been going to the same shop for a while, and I love Jessica. She's really good to me. But if you get your nails done, or you've ever been with anybody that got their nails done, you know that at some point after they've finished all the work they need to do before painting your nails, you have to go wash your hands. And inevitably, those sinks are in the back of the shop. And so you have to kind of